Hello everyone, it's me again. Today I will recap the movie, No One Will Save You. A group of strange people raised their hands to the sky, as if they were calling for something extremely evil. There was something moving around their necks. A moment later, dark clouds rolled in. The girl was scared and ran away. It turned out that the thing in the cloud was a flying saucer. At this time, aliens had invaded Earth, and they were hunting humans for experiments. This girl, in order to protect herself, killed their people. So the aliens sent the most hideous monsters to capture the girl. Will she be able to escape their clutches? Please follow today's recap. Brynn is a seamstress, living in her family's house deep in the forest. Today, after completing an order, she went out to send it to town. Suddenly, she saw a circle on the lawn outside. Thinking that the recent hot weather had withered the grass, she pulled the water hose to water it. After walking a little, she saw her neighbor. However, he did not seem very friendly. Brynn thought that he was just having some sad news. After finishing her work, she visited her mother's grave to pay her respects. There was a group of people chatting happily nearby, but they seemed to ignore her. Brynn's mother had passed away due to a serious illness. Her father had left her for someone else a long time ago. She lived alone in a large house on the outskirts of town. She loved model toys, and even dedicated a large space in the house to display her work. She had a close friend named Maud. Every day she wrote a handwritten letter to her friend, telling her about things in her life. Although lonely, Maud still maintained an optimistic attitude, always cheerful and happy. That night, after reading a book, she fell asleep. In the middle of the night, strange sounds came from around the house. All the lights turned on by themselves, the music played automatically, and then suddenly stopped. A gust of wind blew into the room, making a loud noise that woke Brynn up in panic. She looked out the window, but there was no one. At first, she thought it was a stray cat looking for food in the trash can, so she decided to go downstairs to chase it away. When she went downstairs, she discovered a power outage. What was even more horrifying was that her door slowly opened. Unexpectedly, at this moment, growling sounds appeared in front of her door. It did not sound like the growling of any animal she had ever known. In the living room, a dark shadow ran past. Thinking it was a thief, she intended to return to her room to call the police. Unexpectedly, she accidentally made a noise, causing it to turn around. Brynn was terrified and ran into the room to find a place to hide, but unfortunately, it had already chased her. She could only hold her breath and hide next the bed, because it was clearly an alien creature with extremely terrifying legs. It slowly walked into the room, searching everywhere, even jumping onto the bed. Luckily, she was quick-witted and crawled under the bed. She trembled, watching it approach the window, just hoped it would leave quickly. Unable to find anyone, it roared loudly in anger, then disappeared. Brynn escaped a disaster and quickly closed the window. However, she still had many difficulties ahead. After that, she took her weapon for self-defense. She went downstairs and saw that there was no one here. She quickly closed all the doors, but immediately after, all the electrical appliances in the house turned on and off continuously, as if they were all having signal interference. Her favorite song also emitted terrifying sounds. Brynn had no choice but to turn off all the lights, plunging the house into darkness. She connected the phone to call the police, but the receiver emitted a deafening screech. At this moment, the furniture in the house seemed to be controlled by something. The window was smashed, and there was a noise coming from upstairs. The alien was coming down the stairs. Brynn had nowhere to hide, so she could only hide in a corner next to the refrigerator. After a while, everything went silent. She looked at the phone, wanting to call for help again. Unexpectedly, a two-fingered hand reached out and grabbed the receiver, putting it back in its original position. It seemed that the creature had determined her location. It slowly approached, even opening the refrigerator door wide to block her escape route. Brynn trembled in despair, finally she facing the alien. The scary dark eyes looked at her. Brynn pushed the refrigerator door open, then immediately ran out. The household items exploded continuously. She panicked, slammed her head into the door, and fell heavily to the ground, both in pain and fear, wishing she would pass out. She calmed down, desperately trying to crawl into the living room. The strange creature was still slowly following behind. The table with the model in front of it suddenly flipped over. Green had not yet recovered from her fear when it grabbed her leg and dragged her back. The moment she faced that horrible head, Brynn tried her best to stab a model into its brain. The creature then fell to its knees, falling to the floor dead in front of her. She sat there in panic, not daring to sleep that night, for fear that another one would come looking for her. After the fight last night, her house was destroyed. Early the next morning, seeing the body still lying there motionless, Brynn checked again, but there was no reaction at all. To ease her fear, she covered the alien's body and decided to call the police. But she found that all the electricity in the house had been cut off. It seemed that the alien had done it. She had no choice but to drive into the city to ask for help. But very quickly, she realized that her car was broken too. Brynn was desperate and kept punching the steering wheel. With no other choice, she went back into the house and decided to take a shower. Because of the fall last night, the wound on her forehead was still bleeding. Brynn pushed the sofa to block the door, then headed into the city on her bicycle. There was not a single person on the road today. However, after a while, she came across a truck that had been overturned on the road. There was no one inside. The neighbor's house was also devastated. She found herself standing in a circle, and around it were patches of burned grass, exactly like what she had seen in her yard before. The girl then ran into town. The people around her looked at her with strange expressions. Brynn finally reached the police station, and as soon as she entered, she met Maud's parents. They hated her very much. The mother spat a mouthful of saliva in her face and left. The policemen standing there didn't say anything when they saw this. Feeling extremely helpless and hurt, Brynn burst into tears and left the police station, not understanding what was happening. On top of that, the bike wouldn't unlock, so she could only take the bus to leave. And on the lawn in front of everyone's house, strange circles appeared one after another. A moment later, Brynn noticed a man sitting behind her quietly approaching her. Thinking that the man had bad intentions towards her, she stood up and left her seat, but he suddenly pulled her back. The man emitted a sound frequency that was different from ordinary people. Through his growls, she immediately realized that the man was an alien. She pushed him away and fell to the ground. The creature continued to walk towards her in a strange manner. Then, a woman also helped him catch again Brynn. In the midst of the chaos, the bus driver suddenly slammed on the brakes, causing him to stumble and fall head first. However, he quickly got up and followed Brynn out of the bus. She ran as fast as she could, not daring to look back, and finally saw a house. Brynn wanted to ask for help, but there was no one there. At this time, she saw a cemetery nearby, and this place was also the place where her best friend's grave was located. Maud. Brynn's mental state became increasingly unstable. The sky also had thick black clouds, as if something was chasing her. Brynn was scared and tried to run forward. Perhaps there was something lurking in those clouds. But when she ran back to her neighbor's house, she was horrified to see that everyone there was raising their hands to the sky, as if to receive something. There was something wriggling around their necks. Suddenly, they all looked towards her. Brynn was terrified of what happened before her eyes. She hurriedly returned home, wanting to find a place to hide. At this time, the alien's corpse was already giving off a foul smell, and a viscous liquid was leaking from its mouth. She followed the water out. That thing makes the plants around the house wither. Realizing that it seemed like its kind was coming here, feeling that she couldn't stand here and wait to die, Brynn took a deep breath, gathered her courage, and went back into the house to plan for the battle. First, she lit the whole house with oil lamps, and turned on the gas to boil a lot of water in the kitchen. With the experience of killing aliens last time, she hid a box cutter on her person. Next, she closed all the doors tightly, and secured them with nails, hoping to prevent them from entering. But everything was useless. A beam of extremely strong light shot straight into the house. At this time, the nails automatically fell out. The blue light pushed down the cabinet blocking the door and poured into the house. The alien's corpse lying on the ground suddenly flew up, and then it seemed like they had left. Brynn sat in the terrifying darkness. Just when she thought she was safe, they came back to search the house again. She quickly ran down to the basement to hide. Right at the moment the girl left, they also appeared. Beams of light continuously shone into the basement, as if searching for her. Very quickly, another demon chased here. She hid next the pillar, not daring to make a sound, silently trying to avoid its sight. While the creature wasn't paying attention, she grabbed a pair of scissors nearby to defend herself, then hid under the table. She turned around and was startled to see it sitting right in front of her. Brynn trembled and raised the scissors, determined to fight it. But with its power, it only needed to wave it slightly, and the table almost crushed her. Once again, the demon waved its hand, snatching her scissors away. Seeing the photo in Brynn's hand, it thought this thing was valuable, so it grabbed it to see. While it was distracted, she took the opportunity to escape. Just as she ran upstairs, before she could breathe a sigh of relief, she was attacked by a smaller alien. Suddenly, it rushed towards Brynn at an extremely fast speed. She was thrown to the ground, trying to push it away. Luckily, this demon was still small, so her strength was temporarily able to withstand its attack. She bit its hand hard, causing the creature to scream in pain. The little alien was in pain and stopped attacking her, so she ran away. Its body odor made her feel disgusted. Then Brynn used the boiling water she had prepared and splashed it directly on its body, but the creature was still unharmed, clinging to her. At this moment, a beam of light shone straight into the house. The girl's pot was pushed by the beam of light and stuck to the wall. The little demon was not affected by the beam of light and slowly walked closer to the girl. The strange creature seemed to have its pressure points blocked, suddenly standing still with its limbs forming a strange posture. Brynn intended to take this opportunity to escape. As soon as she closed the door, the demon fiercely wanted to tear the door apart. Obviously, it would break this door down soon. When she tried to escape through the window, it grabbed her leg. Brynn turned around and fought it hand to hand, kicking it repeatedly. In a panic, she accidentally grabbed a mop. Although it was not lethal, at least this mop was better than nothing. The creature struggled and broke the mop handle, which it became a sharp stick. Brynn used the sharp stick to impale it on the cupboard, then slammed the door shut, killing it completely. She quickly jumped out and saw a giant alien on the roof of the neighbor's house, with long, twisted limbs just like a spider. Brynn was about to run away, but she bumped into the man on the bus. He grabbed her hair and dragged her towards the creature. It uses its hands and feet to create strange symbols. Perhaps this was their language of communication. While they were communicating, Brynn kicked the man away. Immediately after, a beam of light shone down, sucking the man up, but then he was dropped back down. He began to twist his body strangely. Brynn quickly ran away from the giant monster. It let out a piercing scream. At this moment, she also felt the danger of life and death approaching. If she didn't run away quickly, she would soon be destroyed by it. After that, it climbed over the roof and fell to the ground, chasing Brynn like a spider. She ran away frantically, got into the car, and jumped out through the other door. The monster rushed forward to chase after it, trapping the giant body inside. It struggled frantically, causing the gas tank to puncture, a large amount of gasoline to spill out. Taking advantage of that opportunity, she set it on fire. The creature was extremely ferocious, wanting to scratch Brynn's body, but she continued to set it on fire. The fire continued to flare up fiercely. The creature did not have time to escape, and was eventually blown up along with the car. Suddenly, the spaceship flew over to capture Brynn. She could only run back into the house, where the light could not reach. Immediately after, the alien from before entered. It went through every corner of the house. She was hiding deep in a corner, sneaking up on it from behind, but the creature discovered it. Just a wave of the hand, it threw her out. Brynn was injured, trying to crawl on the floor, and as soon as she stood up, a red light shone on her, making her immobile. It threw her up to the ceiling, then threw her back down to the ground. Brynn helplessly watched the alien slowly approach her. It flew up to face Brynn. Then, it vomited out a ball of tentacles, like some kind of parasite. The thing moved and flew straight into her mouth. Brynn screamed in fear and woke up, realized that it was all just a terrible nightmare. She calmed down, then was overjoyed to see Maud downstairs. She ran down to see her best friend and apologized to her. However, Maud quickly realized that this was not real. She woke up to reality and put her hand in her mouth, trying to get the parasite out of her body. Her will to live prevented her from being controlled by it. The scene returned to the same horrible day. She tried to strangle it, but the surroundings were filled with deafening noises. Suddenly, a spaceship appeared, shining a bright light on the parasite. It gradually transformed into a human form. Too scared, Brynn ran away from there. At this time, spaceships also appeared everywhere in the sky. Brynn walked further into the forest. When she turned around, she was horrified to see a person with the same shape as her. It stabbed a piece of wood into Brynn. She also immediately used a box cutter, skewered her clone's neck. The alien collapsed and slowly died in Brynn's arms. At this time, she began to hear strange sounds again. On the way back, a larger creature was approaching her. Before the girl could do anything, she was once again trapped by the light of the spaceship, and was finally sucked in. Inside, the ship was a magical space. There were many alien creatures around her. They seemed to be using her as a test subject. When the creatures touched Brynn's forehead, a memory appeared. The past suddenly came flooding back. When her mother was still alive, Brynn and Maud were childhood friends. At this time, the truth was gradually revealed. It turned out that during an argument, because she was pushed down, Brynn was so angry, she attacked her friend with a rock, killing her on the spot. The police quickly surrounded the house. Maud's father was also the city's police chief. That was something Maud's family could never forgive her for. Because of the torment, Brynn could not forgive herself. From then on, she wrote letters to Maud every day, as if her friend was still alive. She appeared happy on the outside, but her heart was always in pain. After examining her brain, the aliens exchanged something with each other. After the discussion, they released the girl back to Earth. A few days later, Brynn recovered, and she seemed to have become a different person. She was happier and more cheerful than ever. She no longer felt the sadness of her past. Brynn was filled with only joy and happiness. The neighbors who had been occupied by aliens before were now living peacefully with her. At this time, the sky was filled with flying saucers. Perhaps the aliens were emotionless creatures, they coming to Earth to learn that from humans. She danced with the townspeople. It seemed that Brynn had forgiven herself for her past mistakes. The alien creatures who should have killed her were more tolerant and generous than her own kind. The movie ended here. Although life is difficult, you must stand on your own. Do not easily rely on others. Learn to be patient. Perhaps past mistakes are in the past. Do not torment yourself. Just move forward. The darkness will remain behind. As long as you strive to shine, no one can drag you into the darkness. Use your smile to change the world. Be awesome. Thank you very much for your support, so that the channel can develop as it is today. If you find it interesting, please give me a like and a comment about this movie. Especially, please subscribe to the channel to follow my movie recap. See you again, my dear friends.